All right. Well, good day to everyone. Welcome to today's session. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time, wherever you're joining us from around the world. Uh, my name is Stephen Rosenlund. I'm the Director of Association Development for CIPE, based in Washington, D.C. We're very glad to have you here today for what I think will be a very interesting conversation on the subject of fostering more resilient private sector organizations through financial sustainability. And throughout, we may refer variously to private sector organizations, employer and business membership organizations, or EBMOs in the ILO lingo, or just associations. We're talking about the same thing. We're talking about private sector associations and chambers that serve and represent businesses and employers. First, before we go any further, I'd like to recognize CIPE's Senior Manager for Global Programs, Morgan Frost, and her team for putting this webinar on and for her leadership of CIPE's work on business resilience. Morgan and her team have led an effort with the ITC-ILO, that's the International Training Center of the International Labor Organization in recent years, involving an interactive e-learning course on fostering more resilient private sector organizations and particularly associations, EBMOs. And that's hosted on ITC-ILO's e-learning campus, and that's a resource that's available to all of you. I know we have a lot of chamber and association professionals and leaders joining us on the calls from CIPE's Global Partner Network and beyond, so thank you. The course is designed for managers and board members of associations. It highlights best practices and strategies to support organizations to become more resilient. It includes perspectives from CIPE's and ITC-ILO's global partner networks. Modules cover organizational resilience generally, also digitalization, managing risks in times of uncertainty, and what we're going to explore today, which is financial sustainability. And that's a particularly important angle of organizational resilience for EBMOs. Now, surveys show that financial sustainability is the top priority of association leaders. And I know for those of you at the helm of your associations, that's what's keeping a lot of you up at night, is that issue. And we see that the association business model today is challenged by lots of things: new forms of competition, disruptive technologies, changing drivers of membership, and other issues. On the other hand, there's tremendous opportunity for associations that are ready to answer the call. Business leaders crave community, they crave genuine connection through the network that an association can provide. They want the unique insights and analysis of the dizzying changes to the global economy, among other business services and solutions that associations provide. And they need the representation through advocacy that associations provide best. CIPE and the ILO, through the what's called ACTEMP, the Bureau for Employers Activities, have been focused intently on helping associations step up to these challenges and succeed in today's fast-changing and often volatile global economy. Here to help us understand these dynamics and shed light on the current trends affecting the financial position of associations globally are two esteemed experts. And I'd like to introduce them now. Paolo Salvai is the Chief of Program for Employers Activities at ITC-ILO. And he's been working with the ILO in ITC-ILO in varying capacities around the world for the better part of the last 2 decades. Paolo has a profound knowledge of the roles and governance and functions of EBMOs. In his varying capacities, he's been in charge of managing capacity building programs for EBMOs across 5 different continents. He specializes in adult training and learning, management consulting, resource mobilization and project design. He's contributed to various training modules, research papers, guides, and publications in this area, and was the principal editor and coordinator of the publication navigating financial challenges of employer and business membership organizations, analysis of strategies to enhance EBMO financial sustainability. I have my copy right here. It's a very eye-opening piece of work that was just released this year, and I know Paolo's planning to share some of the insights from that with us today. Also, we have Carmen Stanila. Carmen is an international expert in nonprofit organization management and currently serves as a senior consultant with CIPE. She has over 15 years of experience working with nonprofit and private sector actors in transition economies. She has been a project manager, trainer, consultant, and mentor in many international programs. Prior to her consulting work, Carmen was the deputy director of CIPE's Romania office. She specializes in working with business associations, chambers of commerce, and think tanks to build organizational sustainability and strengthen their capacity to serve members and advocate for public policies that enable business and creation and growth. She's trained over 1,000 nonprofit executives and entrepreneurs and mentored 25 chambers and associations, and including today many women's chambers and associations in 15 countries across Eastern Europe, the Caucasus, and Africa. And Carmen is currently curating a collection of case studies on association financial sustainability strategies, which started for CIPE, which started in Africa over the last couple of years, and we're now expanding that around the world. So another, I think, valuable resource for all of you. We do encourage questions in this session. That's why we're having an open Zoom meeting, and we are recording this session so that we can share it with colleagues who are not able to join us live today. And without further ado, I will turn it over to Paolo for his presentation. Paolo, over to you.
Thank you very much, Stephen and Carmen, and all the very esteemed guests of CIPE today's webinar. That's first of all, many thanks for the kind invitation, for the opportunities to share one of the latest piece of research of the ILO in the area of financial sustainability of employers and business membership organizations. As Stephen said, this is the jargon we are using, employers and business membership organization, EBMOs. You will see it through my presentation, but let's talk about business association in general. They are business associations. Yeah, we have been requested actually by what we call our ILO employers constituents, so national cross-sectoral employers organization, to invest time and resources to try to understand a little bit better the financial situations of employers organizations or business associations all around the world. Why that? This happened immediately after COVID, because many business associations had to spend quite a number of, quite a portion of their resources in order to stay afloat, basically to pay their salaries, to stay alive. And many employers, leaders somehow told us that they would have loved to have a little bit more information on the financial situation of other organizations in order to benchmark their financial of their own organizations and eventually devise new strategy to improve the financial sustainabilities. So we embark into this journey, a journey that somehow was not easy, because as most of you all of you might know, there is very little scientific literature in the area of business associations. There is much more in the area of trade unionism, but much less in the area of employers association, business associations. And if you look at the literature in the area of internal management and finances of employers and business association, there is extremely little, not to say almost nothing. So we basically ventured into the uncharted water with this research, but I'm happy today to share with you, some of the most important findings that we had that I think could be, valuable to stimulate the debate and indeed to try to, as much as possible, to understand what could be strategies to improve the EBMO's financial sustainability. Can you see my screen, first of all?
Yes, we've got it.
Great. So first of all, let me just start by explaining very briefly which organization we surveyed. Basically, the sample size was not enormous, but it was 50 national cross-sectoral employers and business membership organization, what in some countries they call peak associations or umbrella associations. So not sectoral associations, not industry association, but national cross sectors. Most likely the result would have been different if we would have analyzed, different type of association at sectoral level or, territorial level. Then we try to analyze, financial data from employers and business membership organizations using different sources: financial statements, income and expenditure accounts, balances and data that we had collected through the years at the International Training Center of the ILO. And then we had qualitative insight with leaders' interviews. It was not easy, I can say, to compile all this information because every organization has a different, methodology of collecting the data and presenting the data to the external audience. Some of these data were confidential, so it was a quite complex and long exercise. But I think some of these findings are quite interesting and revealing, and I hope that can stimulate your further discussion, internal discussion, and result in relations to how to improve EBMO's financial sustainability. This is indeed the publication. I will share in the link, in the chat box, the link after the presentation. So in case you want to go deeper, feel free to get access to it. And I want also to underline that if you want to know a little bit more, but you do not want to actually read the full paper, together with CIPE, we have developed a self-learning module that is fully accessible, and we are happy also to provide access to this module in coordination with the CIPE coordinators, because it's a joint work by ILO and CIPE. So, which have been the main findings? First of all, that, indeed, as I mentioned, the financial sustainability is a primary concern for the Director General of employers and business membership organizations. And this is, clear resulting from COVID, where there was a reduction in income, which was average 10%, but reached up to 20% for some organizations. The recovery was strong in most of the organizations around the world, but still there are a few organizations, especially in the global side, a good portion of the organization, the global side, south, that have not got back to the 2019 levels. So still experiences an important shortcomings when it comes to overall income of employers' organizations. So some data back in end 2022, basically 75% of the EBMOs reported solid performance and surplus, but 25% reported still deficit, which is again quite worrisome, and I'm gonna explain why in the next slides. Through our qualitative interviews with leaders, we have understood that there are three main strategies that have been put in place by leaders to ensure better financial sustainability. Number one, income increase, so basically increasing the cake, having more income for your organizations. Second, expenditure control, and third, better management of reserves. So let me go one by one. Strategy number one, income increase, and it's strategy number one for one reason, because 90% of the leaders who have interviewed told us that the most important element in order to improve the financial sustainability of EBMOs is to increase income. So expenditure control is an element, but the most important element is to try to increase the total income of the organizations. So we went somehow a bit deeper into this analysis, and we try to understand how do EBMOs get their money? Where do they get their money from? And these are data with world average, but almost 47% of the income of employers' organization is derived from the annual membership dues or monthly membership dues that companies or sectoral association pays to the organizations. The second most important source of income is services, so paying services that certain organizations provide to members. Third is the projects. Normally, projects are provided by technical corporations, agency, donors, or in collaboration with the government. Some organizations still benefiting from subsidies, grants, and donation at average world level 11%. And then some, especially in the Western world, that have started to save, on the surplus and invest, are now actually yielding important return on the investment. This is especially for Western Europe, US, and Western, let's say, organizations. Whilst in other parts of the world, this is still, work in progress. Let me now go one by one. When it comes to membership income, as I mentioned, for 90% of EBMOs, membership income constitute the primary avenue for enhancing financial sustainability, because 40–50% of their income is derived from this source of income. But so how do leaders see this? How can membership income contribute to better financial sustainability? Most of the leaders we have spoken to told us that there have been, in the latest years, an important effort in professionalizing membership development strategies, trying to reach out to new segments, trying to improve the retention rate meaning members paying their annual dues and not losing their members. So try to care about their members. Important recruitment campaign carried on in order to get on board new members. So this has been an important part of the strategy, professionalizing the way that the organizations are treating their members, that indeed are their most important assets. And the key reason that, of any employers organization, as Stephen was saying, is to represent business interest, private sector interest. And this is done through lobbying, advocacy, social dialogue tables. And so there is a good reason for membership income being the first source of income of most of the EBMOs around the world. Very few organizations, though, have dramatically increased their membership fees, because this could have been a second avenue. On one side, you can try to reach out to more members, so get more money because you have more members. Second avenue would have been to increase, the membership fees. Very few organizations in the last 10 years dramatically increased their membership fees. This was not actually explored that much. Let's move then to the second most important source of income for the EBMOs, that is service delivery. So not all organizations provide services. Certain organizations even, told us that they are not allowed because for their statutes, they are not for profit. They cannot actually charge for services. But more and more, it's becoming common to in an effort also to diversify the source of income, to provide certain services, not all services, but certain more complex services in exchange for a fee. And which are, in general, especially amongst these groups of peak association, the most services generating the most important income. Number one is still training. And okay, we don't have time today, but the cash cow when it comes to training is normally short training at company level, more than open training. And a few organizations have also moved into distance learning training, where the total income maybe is less, but somehow the surplus margin, I don't call it profit margin, because otherwise many of you will tell me, yes, we cannot generate profit, but I would say the surplus that the organization is able to generate on a single activity is high, relatively higher than face-to-face. Then IR, industrial relation, and HR consultancy, and other important areas where somehow the expertise of EBMOs is recognized, and where employers' organizations are able to charge and somehow generate important income. Events, so many organizations have a few events per year, one or two major events where they are able actually to raise money because there is a registration fees, or maybe these events are sponsored by a few large corporations, and this constitute an important actually chunk of money that go into the financial account of the organizations. And then some organizations that have somehow an heritage of chambers might still enjoy certain kind of monopolies on certain services. So for example, certificate of origins. This depends a lot on the region you are working, the type of organizations, but those organizations still enjoying such, I call it monopolies, between brackets, still are able to generate important funds through services. I have to say that when I started 20 years ago, at least in the ILO world, we were thinking that the service delivery income would have increased dramatically in the coming decades. This is not necessarily true, because there was a slight shift. I would say more organization providing paying services, but somehow we were expecting a bit more commercial approach of employers organization. This has not happened. It was our mistake to think that this would have happened. No, it's an important chunk, 20 to 25% 4%, but still, not definitely as high as income, as membership fees. Other important source of income are projects. Obviously, they have a certain appeal, especially for certain EBMOs that are facing issues in collecting fees or in providing paying services, especially in the global south. There might be donors that are willing to support, but more and more we see that EBMOs leaders are also a little bit reluctant in getting on certain projects that not necessarily and the full interest of the organization, because where there is a risk of mission creep. And then they are also aware about the risk of dependency on funding, because we always know, say, donors comes and go. If you are too much reliant on one donor's, geopolitical changes, different situation might easily come to a situation where these funds are drying up. And so it's very important, in our opinion, not to be too much dependent on projects. I always say projects should be the cherry on the cake, something additional that you do that can provide value for your members, but you should not count on projects in order to, for example, to pay the salaries of your regular staff. This would be a huge problem, because this would create, I think, some risk and imbalances. Then there are a few organizations still relying on subsidies, donations, and grants. They are, a very minor number. I mean, across our small sample of 50, just, small numbers, strongly, but relying on subsidies from the government. There is a risk, obviously, subsidies from the government, the risk of losing your independence, because then your willingness and your capacity also to criticize government when they might do something that is against the business interest is limited if the organization is receiving money from the government. And to be honest, same on donations and grants from large corporations. We also have to pay attention, because there can be, the temptations of corporation to take control of the organization if they provide too much money. And finally, as I mentioned before, 10-15% in our samples, especially from the West, somehow are getting important returns on the investment they started to make in the late 90s. And definitely this is an important way of increasing the income and ensuring a better financial sustainability. Some lessons, and I will share actually the presentation at the end. Importance of diversifying income sources, importance somehow of having a value proposition that is capable of attracting, diversified membership, and the importance of professionalizing the way we are managing our members and our recruitment and retention campaigns. Important in a certain increase in the revenue from paid services, and so again, money from projects, yes, but with certain caution, paying attention that this should be done only if it's in the full interest of the members. Let me now go very quickly to the strategy number 2, which is the, it's quite obvious. From one side, you can increase income. On the other side, obviously, you can try to control the expenditure if you want to improve your financial sustainability. Many employers' organization leaders told us that now, there are better monitoring, the expenditure levels, but still they do not see these as the key factors to ensure future financial sustainability. It's an important element, but not as important as income increase. So we try to analyze also how our employers' organizations spending their money on, and basically more than 50% of the income in staff remunerations and or consultants remunerations. So this human element that it's normal for such service organizations. Then PR communication we group together, and we'll explain a little bit why. Cost of establishment, and then there is this big category other expenses, because I assure you it was not easy to compile data, because everyone is registering expenditure in a very different manner. So staff cost, 56%, highest expenditure, but still very important message from the Director General we talk with. Staff retention and somehow talent retention is extremely important for employers' organizations. Somehow some organizations have cut certain the number of employees, but they have not cut the overall staff cost envelope. This means that some organizations have been able actually to increase salaries for the top professionals in order to retain them, to make sure that they can stay within the organizations. And only the least productive post or somehow the administrative posts that have been somehow eventually cut. But there was a very limited reduction in the total. Very few organizations actually went through a reduction of the overall staff cost. And even very limited exploration of external staffing solution, because you might say, okay, maybe you can outsource certain services, somehow getting experts on ad hoc basis. This is done, but only to a very limited extent. Cost of establishment, I just want to mention this represents around 9%. The interesting point is that 80% of the organization in our sample are proprietary of their main buildings, and those who are not actually said that they would have loved to, and they are somehow, some of them are constituting a special fund to try to purchase their own buildings. For me, the main question mark is this the right strategy or not? We don't have a definitive answer. So basically, if you have a surplus, if you have money, is the right way to invest in your own building or not? Because when we look at the rental expenses of EBMOs in our sample, somehow they were not huge. So there can be even other ways of investing monies of the organizations. A few words in relation to outreach and PR and communication. Basically, it represents around 10% of the cost, and this amount has increased compared to 2012. I think this is for good reasons, because there's been increasing competition with more NGOs, more associations try to somehow take space in the public debate, and so employers' organization need really to go beyond the EBMOs and have effective and powerful tools to convince, to reach out to policy makers and obtain the results their members expect from them. Some lesson on expenditure control. So basically, expenditure control is an important part of a strategy for financial sustainability. More and more data monitoring and assessment of expenditure is something that has been constantly done by employers' organizations. Staff are the most important asset to deliver value, and so the employers' organization are not cutting on at least on talent costs. And it's important somehow there have been a few strategies in the past to try to group somehow some organization. We have seen also some mergers of organization, and this has led to certain cuts in the administrative costs and eventually a strongest voice of business in certain organizations. Last two slides. So basically, the third strategy that we have explored in our paper is management of reserves. And obviously, having reserves can be an important way of weathering challenging periods. This came very clear during COVID. Those organizations who had reserves could better manage the crisis, could pay their salaries to the staff, whilst others have actually huge issues during the COVID period. What came out of our analysis is that in the global South, 3 out of 10 EBMOs have reserves not exceeding 6 months of their total expenses. And this is not huge. Actually, there were quite a number even not exceeding the 3 months. This means that if you have another black swan event like COVID, and we all hope this will never happen again, but the financial sustainability, the sustainability of organizations that have such low level of reserves might be at risk. So some lesson on management of reserves. Despite the employers' organization, most of the cases are not for profit by nature. Prudent financial management would actually suggest that generating more surplus year over years and then a wise investment policies would help in slowly creating reserves and eventually yielding also some interest that can contribute to the long-term financial sustainability of the organizations. that was it on me. I don't want to take more time, as I know that we will have more time for question after at the end of the session, right?
Paolo, thank you very much for sharing all of that incredible information and insights. And I'd recommend that you all check this report out. It contains really the best data out there right now on the state of play in terms of financial sustainability and health of EBMOs in developing and emerging markets in particular. So thank you for sharing a high-level summary of that with us. Really, really helpful insights. And with that, I will turn to Carmen, who I think can add a lot of sort of color and perspective to this, because she's been looking intently at how all of this plays out in CIPE's Global Partner Network. Carmen, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Steve. Hi, everybody. It's great to see you and to be here with you. Greetings from warm Mauritania. Indeed, I have been working with the CIPE team and working with our partners, looking also at what are some of the main income sources and how our association partners are seeking to achieve sustainability, looking at some of the income generation streams and their strategies to achieve this long-term and very worthy goal. I would like to share with you at the beginning the findings, very few findings of a recent CIPE survey that we conducted in Africa. And then I would like to also highlight three examples of organizations, CIPE partners, three organizations that have successfully leveraged programs, services, and events to generate income and also to work towards achieving sustainability. If you can please go to the next slide. Wonderful, thank you. At CIPE, we conducted at the beginning of this year, we conducted a survey among African partners, looking at how they are generating income. And our survey, I think, not surprisingly concurrent with what Paolo was presenting as findings from the ITC-ILO survey, it showed the need for greater diversification of revenue streams. And it also showed some of the techniques that have turned out to be successful to secure such revenue. What they found is, in terms of main income generators, that associations, business membership organizations rely heavily on membership fees. From what we found is 30% of the respondents said that membership fees represented at least 45% of revenue. So no surprise here, this is concurrent with what Paolo was just presenting. Then we found that grants, donor-funded projects were the second most common source of revenue. Another finding that we identified in this research was that programs, services, and events were underutilized. There's a lot of potential to grow there, a lot of potential to expand and to tap into them to raise funds. In the survey that we conducted, 68% of BMOs received or generated less than 15% of their total annual income from events, and then 15 or less from programs and services. Now, when it comes to the actual programs and services, what are those that bring more money? We found that trade fairs were pretty successful, and they generate quite significant portion of revenue, followed by training. No surprises here, training is popular. And then exhibitions and other types of events. So, of course, the entire report is available on the CIPE website, and I would encourage you to visit it and look at the other main findings of this survey. I would like to continue with sharing some examples from CIPE partners' work. Examples of successful associations that have identified income streams that they are using to first to provide value to their members and business community, and in the process to also contribute towards the organization's sustainability. And I would like to start with an example from Zimbabwe. The Confederation of Zimbabwe Industries has been very successful raising funds from their annual conference. This is typically a 2-day event, which brings together the Confederation members, of course, as well as economic experts, policy makers, and a variety of other actors that are concerned or involved in the business environment in Zimbabwe. And the event is attracting a lot of visibility, as well as a lot of participation. Its success lies in 3 primary aspects. One is the well-structured framework and agenda, then the high-quality business content, and the third one is the opportunity for meaningful engagement between government and business community, business players regarding the economy. And when I say business players, this includes also the Zimbabwe diaspora. There is the comprehensive event brochure that the association publishes. And in terms of income streams, the Confederation of Zimbabwe Industries earns money from sponsorships, registration fees, which vary for members and non-members. There is a fee to participate in the CIPE dinners that are organized in conjunction with a 2-day conference, as well as exhibition spaces, which are provided to the various companies that want to present to highlight their products. This event helps the Confederation positions itself as a major player in the business community, and at the end of the conference, the net surplus of the association can go up to $100,000 per edition. I don't know about you, but I find this figure absolutely impressive. We are talking about a 2-day event. And you have here on the left side of the slide, you have the examples of the various partners and sponsors that support the event and contribute to the fantastic results that I have just mentioned. I would like to continue with another example this time, this is an example from the Women's Chamber of Industry and Commerce of Sri Lanka. And I would like to greet Tusita, who is here with us today. She is the chair or co-chair of the Women Entrepreneur Award Committee of the Chamber. This is a flagship, the Women Entrepreneur Award program. This is a flagship program of the Chamber. It started in 1988. It was a biannual edition then, featuring prominent successful women entrepreneurs from the various cities of Sri Lanka. And the program was relaunched in 2022. It has become a national annual program featuring women entrepreneurs from Sri Lanka and the broader South Asia region. This is a high-level event. The program, the Women Entrepreneur Program, culminates in a high-level event, the award ceremony, which has brought together over between 300 and 400 participants, and the guests of honor are the president of Sri Lanka and the first lady, which we see on the right side of the slide. The award program it covers 4 months. There is a very strict selection process. There are 2 panels of judges who evaluate all the applications. And the latest edition has seen applications from over 80 women entrepreneurs, and 38 of them received an award. There are various categories. For instance, Women Entrepreneur of the Year, Startup of the Year, Most Innovative Woman Entrepreneur, Social Enterprise, and a host of other categories. In terms of goal, the Women's Chamber of Industry and Commerce has set as a goal to showcase successful women entrepreneurs, to provide recognition, and also to raise attention to the importance of women ownership in business. The participants, but also the award winners, they are women who are majority shareholders or sole owners of the companies. In terms of the various income streams that this program and especially the award ceremony generates, there are 5 main streams. First of all, the major companies operating in Sri Lanka are invited to sponsor the event. Then there is a small application fee that all the women who compete for the awards will be required to pay. Now, if you want to attend the ceremony, there is a separate fee, a registration fee, a ticket that everybody, including the leadership of the association, will pay in order to attend. Then the chamber has successfully attracted various donors and collaborative partners who either provide income or financial support. And last but not least, some of the participants, some of the women who compete for the awards. They have become members, even leaders of the Women's Chamber of Commerce, of Industry and Commerce in Sri Lanka. So this brings even more money from the membership fees. I would like to end with the third example, also a women's organization. This time we are talking about the professional women's network in Romania. Women on boards is one of the three main pillars of their activity. And in the Women on Boards the pillar, they have two main programs. One is the Women on Boards training program, which has become the flagship program of the association. This is a training program that they branded and they registered as a brand. It's called Women on Boards Academy. And then there is a Women on Boards mentoring component. I would like to just briefly share a couple of points about the Women on Boards Academy program.
We do want to move to questions, Carmen. So if you could just
yes, we will. I will wrap it up in a moment. This program has come to the 6th edition. It's a program that is available only for members. So you have to be a member to be able to register. Registering is not sufficient. It's the first step. There is a strict selection process. There is an interview. And there's also a registration fee, of course. The association aims to contribute towards more gender balanced leadership and to support women leadership in business. And it does so by developing women's capabilities to serve in boards. Now, in terms of business model, I was saying participation is available for a fee, and that fee is in the amount of €900. In addition to the registration fees, the association has also been able to attract new members. So they are also generating membership fees through this program. And it's again, it's a high profile program with a variety of topics that relate to what it means to be serving in the board of a company, especially a listed company, listed on the stock exchange. For the sake of time, I will stop here. Stay tuned for more examples. CIPE is working on more examples of successful associations, and we'll be happy to share those case studies with everybody when they are available.
Thank you very much, Carmen, for sharing, for all your work on this and sharing these fantastic examples. I know there's a lot to learn here, and some really just fantastic things happening across the globe with our partner network. We have 10 minutes or so for questions, so we'd be happy to take questions at this point. I have plenty of my own that I could ask, but I'd like to open it up to the room. If you do have a question at this time, please raise your hand, or feel free to post it in the chat and we will read it. We do have a question here from the Q&A. Okay, what is one piece of advice you would give to an association who's just starting on their journey to improving financial sustainability? It's a good question. You have to start somewhere. Some organizations are further along in that journey than others, but what would you say to that? Paolo, I'll start with you.
Thanks, Jan, for the question. Yeah, that's a very important. Yeah, because you have to start with something. I think first of all is a very good analysis of your financial situation at the moment, and at least in the previous 5 years. So in order to understand very well which have been, your source of income, and which have been somehow the criticalities that you have been going through in the last years. Then, in my experience, at least, any organization that is too much dependent on one only single source of revenue is more likely to have issues if there is a crisis. And the crisis might be, different ones. So there are organizations that have been somehow too much reliant on paying services. Might be strange to say, but it happened. And somehow when the club feeling was somehow shrinking, and somehow the organization was starting to be perceived more as a consultancy firm instead of an employers and business associations, and so they went into problems. Same with organization too much dependent maybe on membership fees, or on membership fees mainly only of a few members. And we know very well, I mean, you might have heard, for example, of the case of a big organization like CBI. In the UK, they went through a huge internal crisis for reasons I will not explain, but they had, the largest multinationals just deciding to drop their membership for 1 year and a half, and this has actually put somehow at strain the financial sustainability of the organizations, because they were too much dependent, overly dependent on a single source of funding, which was the fees paid by 20 large multinationals. I would close here because obviously we can talk more, but I want, we need also context.
Thank you. Thank you. Carmen, anything you would add to that?
Yeah, I would say the first place to start is look at your members. What are their needs? Ask them, what are their needs? Don't assume you know, okay? Ask them, conduct a survey, talk with them. If they don't answer surveys, call them, meet with them, use the events that you are organizing to find out what they want, what they need from your organization. Yeah? Look at also at your market. What are the emerging opportunities? What are the trends? What's going on? This will give you ideas about what you can offer. Yeah. Then look at your costs. Look at your costs of operations. How much does it cost your association to offer services, the services that you are currently offering, and the ones that you would like to introduce? How much would it cost? Please, please, please make an analysis, because every time everybody wants to provide so many things for free without considering the costs. When you provide any piece of information, when you organize any event, any kind of event, it incurs costs for your organization. Sit down with your financial team and look at what are those costs. Okay? You have to cover them through membership fees, through programs and services and other sources, but you have to cover them. Yeah. And the last one, I know you asked for one. The last one maybe from me would be promote, communicate, tell people what is it that you are doing. Talk to them about the programs and services that you provide, about how you as an organization are adding value to them. They are business people. Yeah. The question is, what's in it for them? What are they getting? How are you helping them solve an issue? Okay. Communicate. Yeah. These are my three main suggestions, and I'll stop here.
Yeah, I think it's great advice, especially marketing the association and membership and the services of the association like a business, right? Because that's where you're selling these services and the value that is in that. We have so on the expenditure side, Paolo, I'll ask you this one. It was directed towards you, and if you have any insights on the difference in establishment costs, as you call them, between associations in different parts of the world, right? Because costs of these things, particularly when it comes to rent and real estate and so on, are different across these markets. I guess my initial reaction to the question is, it kind of depends on what what is the utility of that space to the association? How are they using it? Is it being used for events or services? Do you really need it for the size staff you have and so on? So to me, it should be driven by those considerations, but what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely right, Stephen. I fully agree with you that, again, a deep analysis of what is needed by our organization. How much are we eventually spending on our rental costs? How much space do we need nowadays? Because we know that many employer organizations now are, heavily relying, and using teleworking policies. So even the office space has been dramatically reduced in many organizations. So when I heard, a number of leaders from employer organizations saying, yes, actually, we need to have our own building, I always, raise my eyebrows, say, do you really need? Or there are alternatives, basically, in investing more. I mean, you can decide to invest more in staff. You can decide to try to set up a different services, or in certain contexts, yes, it makes sense because maybe you are losing, I don't know, 10K a month on rents, and it's a considerable part of your total income, and there is a good opportunity on the market. So again, I think I fully agree with you that it depends on the local context, but all these elements should be taken into account. My only point there is we didn't find a solution in our analysis, but I wouldn't say the solution is purchase your building. No, it's make an analysis and think through whether this is the right thing to do. And if you allow me, there is, I think, a very interesting point, on the chat box on the issue of cash, because yes, indeed, this is an issue that very often I hear from employers, organization leaders saying, yes, but if we provide paying services, then our organization is then not considered anymore more not-for-profit, and so we have to pay taxes, etc., etc. So there are a few, or I mean, quite a number now of organizations that have kind of solved this problem by keeping, their business association business, mainly relying on membership fees, but then they have established what I can call, a satellite company fully controlled by the business associations that is providing services. Obviously, then it's taxable income, yes, but this solves a problem because then the income coming from the membership fees is not subject to taxation. You're still not for profit, but then you have your service subsidiaries that is providing this. This has been done in Malaysia Employers Federation. Here, I mean, from Italy, from Torino, in the Unione Industriale Torino, which is a big industrial association, in Trinidad and Tobago by the Employer Consultative Association. So many organizations went into this road in the last years, and I think this could be, again, a very concrete strategy to take on board. Over to you, Stephen.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's a really critical insight. There are ways to do this, and of course, bottom line, everybody on this call needs to comply with their local national laws governing your type of organization and the conditions around generating revenue. But find a legal way to do it, because you need to be thinking about how to run the association more like a business in order to generate those revenues that will enable you to achieve the mission and achieve more impact. That's really critical. I guess that brings us to time. There's certainly more we could cover. I have my own list of questions. Maybe we'll have to schedule another part to this discussion, but we will close it here to respect the time. I really want to thank Paolo Salvai, Carmen, Stanila for their time and sharing their expertise and insights with us today. I think fascinating presentations and discussion, and the best to all of you in your financial sustainability journey. And of course, I know you'll let CIPE know how we can accompany you and assist you with that. So thanks to all of you for your time.